All right, guys, response video incoming. I don't normally upload on this channel, but I feel like this was a great opportunity. I had so many questions, so many people wanting one-on-ones on this most recent post right there. The new youth ministry model. I thought it'd be worth talking about a more long-form question. So let's respond to some people. So Stephen Yates, 15, says that he doesn't have an answer for you because he is just using his free Canva account to say something controversial to generate some IG engagement, which I guess we're doing. But you don't need to listen to anybody who says you're doing it wrong without telling you how to do it right. Okay, let me try to be more charitable. That's just how you come across, Stephen, which maybe that's because that's how I come across. When a post like this performs, there are upwards of 50 to 80% of people who don't follow you engaging on it. I wonder if I can show the insights on here. Here, let me show you guys. Sorry about this. I have to reorient I'm doing this for you, Steven. Steven's about to be in this purple bar. So if you see right here, of the views, 75% are coming from people who don't know me, who don't follow me, which in a sense is good, successful social media, but it's something that can create volatility. And because the reality is this guy's critiquing me on something of not doing something that I've devoted my life to do, my adult life. For 15 years, I've done youth ministry. I do youth ministry. I coach youth pastors. I have different posts up. I literally even have a post called how to solve the discipleship problem. And so it's just interesting. I want to be a part of solving it. Here's my philosophy in posting to everyone is, number one, I would never claim to be able to solve a major problem in one short form post. I think the best thing that we can do online is start great conversations and grow bit by bit. I would never seek to think that I could do that through one Instagram post. You might have a higher view of what someone's supposed to accomplish on Instagram than even me, and I'm the content creator. Zero post Andy over here. That's what's so funny. Content creators always get the heat for being like rage baiting and everything like that. But in my experience, the people with the strongest kind of keyboard warrior stance are almost always people without any posts who almost, I think, expect to be anonymous in this and don't think that there's another person on the other side of it. There's no way you would roll up on me in real life, Mr. Yates, and talk to me that way. And so maybe you shouldn't talk to people online in a way that you wouldn't talk to them in person. I don't know. Just a thought. But the reality is I wouldn't think to solve it in one post. Secondly, even if I thought that I could, I don't know if I think that I could. I don't claim to be this apostolic, all-knowing expert. Maybe I'm being moved into an apostolic gifting and position in some ways, but I'm learning from the home team. I'm learning from local church pastors, the real heroes. I'm not trying to say I know for sure. Thirdly, the whole essence of this post is for too long, we've had people, ministries and pastors say, here's how to do ministry, copy us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and people just take it. They just go for it. Do you know that in a lot of the countries where people have tried to enroll the same democracy we use in America, it's turned into a dictatorship? I don't believe that churches should copy and paste models. So what I wanted to discuss in this post was not necessarily a shift in all the utilitarian 1, 2, 3s, because that might be different for your church in your context, from Canada to UK to Asia to Africa to Germany to Iowa to Idaho. I have a lot of people that follow me, and we discuss on a given month there will be 500,000 people that view my content and engage with me, and that's a global view of the church. And so I don't want to subscribe something. Now, if we were sitting down one-on-one, I might give a lot more specifics, but I'd ask a lot of questions. The goal of this post is to suggest that we are in need of a new focus. We are in need of a I just like my own post bars. We are in need of a new focus in ministry. And that focus is that our primary goal to gather is not to reach the lost. The primary goal of the gathering of the church cannot be to reach the lost. The primary goal of youth ministry cannot be to see how quickly we can turn students into invite machines and give them evangelistic assignments beyond their discipleship experience. And this is something that we've all sinned and fallen short of the gospel. I know I have. Maybe Mr. Yates hasn't. But yes, some people are asking questions like, I thought you were suggesting to move away from small groups. No, I was just saying that small group centered youth ministry, by and large, has reverted back from a all out, full on buy-in. And I articulate how that was actually done with a really right heart to try to right size this over attractional model reality in youth ministry. But the funny thing is we went from big groups and big events to only small groups with like the once a month thing to now back to gathering. And I think we're actually kind of getting back to what youth ministry is supposed to be about, which is not delegating discipleship only to volunteers or only writing off spiritual development to just like good friends or like a good leader in small group. Youth ministry as church is a training ground. It's teaching, it's education. And you're like, oh my gosh, the word education, it sounds so disgusting with church. Well, you would not have liked following the Rabbi Jesus then, because the whole rabbinical structure and the whole approach to the synagogue, and then, read Paul and even see how Peter goes from being somebody who, is seemingly confused and an untrained fisherman to becoming trained in teaching people doctrine and helping shape and form the church. This is important. And we're losing by every statistical measure in youth ministry. So yeah, I'm going to keep pointing out the problem, but not only in this post, but in other posts, we're working on the solution together. Some people have said to me, oh, well, we look at the youth ministries that you referenced, and they have, this is a good question. They have big events. I just look at them and I see big events. Well, you guys, big events are not the enemy. Large attendance is not the enemy of strong discipleship. What I'm trying to say and what I've been saying is that strong evangelistic culture is a byproduct of healthy discipleship. When you let youth ministry and church be a place where you care for Christians, you develop them. You don't just try to make them into little invite machines or little hype beasts. You actually help them conform to the image of Christ and experience the goodness of God, the rich and satisfying life, as the NLT says in John 10:10, the Zoe life, as it's been commented on so many times. It will lead to large evangelistic opportunities. Like my friend Ben Graves right here. You guys are like, man, you just pointed out event. No, do you know why there's a strength of evangelism? Is because there's a focus on discipleship. I've preached at Ben's youth group. Guys, they just had 1,500 there. They have people in like 18 schools or some ridiculous number. Like, this is an event at a school. But when you go to their youth ministry on an average Sunday, it's just teaching the Bible, and there's some relational stuff and there's some fun stuff, but the focus is dare I say, Christians. We are one youth. You're like, oh, look, they're creative, that they can't be discipleship. No, I chose them because they are discipleship. I mean, this man, my friend Dave, preached the entire book of Acts to his youth ministry, recorded additional insights called Acts tensions. They have discipleship groups. Like, they are sometimes risking attendance so that they can stay substantive. It's important, but look at the byproduct is you can be creative. You can have large events. You can reach people. And again, they have a focus on others and on schools and on their city and on missions trips. You guys didn't do enough research. You asking me questions on the church. You just scrolled through someone's Instagram, like some of y'all just scrolled through mine, instead of taking a deeper look. River Valley Youth. These are some of the pioneers and purveyors of realizing that small groups matter, discussions matter, but they don't need to happen off campus. They're actually going to happen better if they're moderated. So if you asked me what I thought was the 1-2 punch for a lot of youth groups, is you'd have acoustic worship, you would have a 15 to 30 minute message. Sometimes it can be 20 and 15 minutes. Sometimes you might need to talk longer on a subject that sets up a conversation with your group leaders that's happening on site, on campus, that's feeding the Christian, that's answering the seeker. See, the problem is, and then it's sandwiched by like, some fun stuff to do at youth, but you will never outfund the world. You will never outfund culture. You will never outfund sports. I did another post. Why are students choosing sports over youth group? Because sports takes what they do seriously. Youth groups like, how do we get more balloons? Guys, we've got to, if you look at other religions, like let's talk about Islam. They are like teaching young people, like, this is the way. You must do this. Like, this is serious. This is life and death. The Mormons are like, they're like, no, you will be trained up in this. You will be ready to defend the faith. And so much of youth ministry, we're like, yeah, dude, like as long as we just get them there. And Timmy invited a friend once and then got baptized. Woo! And they know a small group leader. We did it. I'm just suggesting that maybe we threw the baby out with the bathwater when we moved away from youth ministry being an educational apparatus. And when you look at what really happened, by the way, look at this content. All I'm trying to do is talk about how to apply this. That's all I'm trying to do. I do it professionally. I do it with my content. So come through. Let's have a good conversation. This is what I believe happened. I believe that Sunday school started as a method to literally teach people how to read and write. The church providing a practical need. People didn't know. How could they study the Bible if they don't know how to read and write? How can they live a satisfying life as professionals? There was a time where Christians had a massive advantage just because they had higher literacy rates. So like part of like how you might have been identified as being a Christian is like, how to read and write better because you were taught at Sunday school. Well, then people normalized that. And then it became more focused on systematically teaching people theology, doctrine, the things of God. And then eventually what happened is in the 90s, maybe started in the 80s, depending on who you ask, certainly by the early 2000s, the seeker-sensitive movement, the church growth movement started. And what happened is Andy Stanley told us we need to get rid of all the programs. The problem is because there was a needed shift in Sunday school, we got rid of all Sunday school. And I'm just suggesting in all moments that we would not necessarily have, put in the comments who said this, the chronological snobbery to think that just because we're alive in 2025 to think that we know 100% how to do it better. I'm getting a Discord call. Give me 1 second. I'm going to wrap here. I got meeting. I got stuff to do, but I want to talk to you guys. And really, Mr. Yates, I'm trolling you a little bit because I think honestly, every time I do something like this or I contact someone directly, they just feel like a little silly because they're arguing at someone that I think is trying to do the same thing that they're doing, which is build the church and pull young people out of hell, both on this side of eternity and on the other side of eternity. And so, yes, was there a needed correction? Were Sunday school boring? Was Andy Stanley right that the church was over-programmed? 100%. But we have stripped it down so hardcore. Was the church too insider thinking? 100%. But we've overcorrected. And this is what I believe, that when church is a place where Christians are being trained so that they can follow Jesus fully, it will, when it's done right, will equate to a life of radical generosity, radical evangelism, a radical approach to putting others first, radical missions. All these three churches that I listed, and there's more that I could list, they don't just have big events and big crowds. They've actually, by prioritizing first on the Christians in their community, building them up, they send them out just like Jesus did. So I don't want to hear that I'm just trying to like engagement farm. This is what I'm devoting my life to. Probably done it longer than a lot of the people that are detracting me in the comments. And I know that there's some really earnest questions. And so I want to keep talking. I do want to schedule some one-on-ones. Maybe we just need to do a group call and talk more about this, but this is what I want to do. And I don't claim to know it all, nor do I claim to think that every church should do it different. Yes, I love small groups. Yes, Fuller Youth Institute's data on intergenerational relationships is 100% key. You don't just need good parents. You don't just need a youth pastor. You also need a small group leader. You also probably need, I had like 7 men from our church pouring into my life. So I believe in all of that. So it's just about where do we put it? How do we activate it? And it's about the focus of saying, can youth ministry be a place where we focus firstly on being the West Point of Christianity, meaning we're developing Daniels, versus thinking that youth group is just about keeping everything at such a low level of theological and educational content because we're just trying to be an attractional thing. The best evangelistic movements of your church will not be when you try to get students to come to your church. The best evangelism happens when you send people from your church that know how to share the gospel, that know how to contend for the faith, that know how to lovingly reach out to people, that know how to pray healing over people, and then they'll bring their friends back from school that have already met Jesus. So let's talk about it. New youth ministry model. If you're just finding this from YouTube, hey, maybe I'll start posting more. Let's talk about ministry. I love your face.